Some things never change. The laws of physics. The disappointment with remakes of animated classics. The ongoing struggle to understand why Taylor Swift is so popular. And of course, the negative reception from critics towards any new Zack Snyder's film. His fans got used to it. Watching critics throw Rotten Tomatoes at their idol became part of the job.
This is the way.
But this time, even the most loyal of them had their faith shaken. It seems that everybody didn't like Rebel Moon. At first, I didn't appreciate it too. It didn't seem like a bad movie. Worse, it felt mediocre, a sensation I had never experienced with Snyder before. Then I thought, it couldn't be so. After all, this is the man behind Sucker Punch, another film that was slammed by critics and many of Snyder's regular fans, yet turned out to be a profound commentary on public taste. A satire that compares modern cinemas to brothels, and the audience to clients who don't want to think, just crave appealing action for their money. So, I started to dig. I delved into every title, symbol, and Snyder interview. I rewatched both films 22 times, and eventually I caught it. I began to see. And if you want your eyes open too, follow me, and I will show you. In this video, I'll primarily review the second part of Rebel Moon, with scenes from the first part woven in along the way. Alright, let's dive in. At the outset, Anthony Hopkins' magnificent voice recounts the events of the preceding film. Despite the first part's recent release just a few months ago, Snyder understands that in today's rapidly paced world, the intricate plot twists of Child of Fire can quickly fade from memory, and with care, he reintroduces us to the story. After seeing the villain's rebirth, we witness the return of heroes to Velt. When they first meet the villagers, General Titus says,
"I'm thirsty."
Well, you might think that's just a part of a simple exchange of greetings. But just remember this line. After realizing that King's Gaze, the Motherworld's cruiser, still after them and will arrive in 5 days, frightened villagers are gathered by Titus. And look how he starts his speech. Another liquid hint? But what does it all mean? Don't worry, you'll find out in due time. Titus says they need to gather crops in 3 days to fortify their homes, creating a shield against the cruiser's aerial attacks. Very convincing for plain villagers who don't know much about war tactics. But you might be thinking, really? An empire would care about the crops of one little village on one little planet? Fair enough. But do you really believe that Titus isn't aware of that? Do you think that Snyder and professional writers are so naive that they wouldn't realize it? Can't you see that what General Titus is doing is offering hope to these people? Because he knows that hope is the strongest weapon they have in this battle. After that, Cora tells Gunnar a bedtime story of her past. Her foster father Belisarius and the Senate manipulated her, first to assassinate young Princess Issa, then to make her a scapegoat as a killer of royal family. When captured, Cora demonstrates that she's not merely a scapegoat, but a goat when it comes to escapes, elegantly breaking free of her captors. I mean, just look at this move. Now here you might ask, why a woman who can kill a child couldn't do the same with this treacherous man who used her? Why wouldn't she kill all those tunicked traitors for that matter? Well, to understand that, we need the same level of psychological insight required for the Marta moment from Dawn of Justice. You see, here Cora realizes if she were to kill them all, she would become a hero. But she doesn't deserve it. She just killed a child after all. So instead, she spares them and subjects herself to a pursuit. To atone her malicious act, she should suffer. If you didn't catch that, well, perhaps you should approach Zack Snyder's films with a more intellectually prepared mindset. Then we see Admiral Noble restoring his position. It's worth noting how Noble stands in this scene. As you can see, there's no need for him to spread his hands like that, as the tubes are adjusted only to his back. So, what is Snyder trying to convey here? To understand, let's closer inspect Noble's storyline. I mean, who does he remind you of? Recently he was reborn, now he's displaying a posture reminiscent of a cross. And then he says,
"It is I that stands before my people as a savior."
I guess the last word says it all. Previously, Snyder faced criticism for his religious references seen as too on the nose, but here he's embarked on something entirely new, subverting the subject's meaning and infusing it with a newfound depth. Along the way, we're treated to beautiful sequences of the harvest and rural joys, the epic drinking of Titus again. I bet none of you truly appreciated these scenes, but let me tell you, these are the most crucial moments in the film. Here lies the soul of the story. But it's all too mundane for you, isn't it? It's as if Snyder is reading your minds, and through the lips of a young, simple girl, he says to you,
"So I hope my gifts don't insult you with their simplicity."
Then the characters share their stories. Critics have argued that this is a shallow way to deepen their development. Not that I agree with it, but that's beside the point. Soon you'll see that Snyder deliberately made it cliched and similar to numerous other backgrounds. However, these stories are not the main focus of the scene. The most astonishing part is this.
Titus pretends to drink.
What a twist, right? Now do you see it? These scenes weren't accidental. It's a separate story arc. And what Titus says after that?
Old stories can be hard to give up.
That, my friends, is the main theme of the story. Still don't understand? All right, let's go further. Bit by bit, clarity will dawn upon you. While the villagers are preparing for battle, Cora meets James. It seems nobody has even attempted to understand what the robot represents. Why is he wearing antlers, really? I think it's pretty obvious. Snyder is trying to convey that the AI in this story is much closer to nature than humans who created it. A thought that could become prophetic, considering the mindless pursuit of technology in our own world. The cruiser comes. Cora cuts off her hair, symbolically throwing off her femininity, for right now she must embrace her cruel side. Gunnar shaves his beard to do the opposite, so he could take care of his loved one. Here Snyder shows the odd dichotomy of things. Getting rid of hair could mean completely different things. At around half of the length of the film, just like in Man of Steel, the war begins. But before it starts, Noble makes an offer to Cora. If she goes with him, he will spare the village. Cora intends to accept it. Now you might wonder, is she really so naive to believe that Noble will spare them, especially after Titus told her what the Empire did to his people when he surrendered? Of course not, but you see, hope can sometimes cloud reason. Thanks to smooth-faced Gunnar, the situation is brought back under control. I won't describe the entire battle. Better to see it. And if you can't appreciate Snyder's action scenes, you might need to see a doctor to cure your visual impotence. In the battle, we witness numerous heroic deeds. A woman sacrificing herself to save others, a man throwing his weapon away to engage the enemy in fair hand-to-hand combat, and even on the side of evil, medics trying to aid their injured comrades. Maybe they didn't deserve this fate. But it's a war, baby. Yet, the most profound scene of the film was saved by Snyder for the end. Just look at it. I'm not even going to talk so you can savor it. No, I'm not talking about the subtle reference to the Game of Thrones cast change. To explain the brilliance of this scene, I should start with the notorious, unexpected hanging paradox. It goes like this. A judge informs a condemned prisoner that he will be hanged at noon the following week, but the exact day will be a surprise. The prisoner deduces that he cannot be hanged on Friday, as it wouldn't be a surprise by then. Similarly, he eliminates each successive day of the week, believing he will never be hanged. However, to his shock, the executioner arrives on Wednesday at noon, fulfilling the judge's prediction. Because the prisoner persuaded himself that he won't be hanged, the actual arrival surprises him. The same logic applies here. How many times have we seen one of the good guys suddenly stab the villain in the back while the villain almost killed another good guy? I mean, it's one of the 3 rules. Always attack the bad guy with numerical superiority. Always use tricks to defeat the villain, never giving him a fair fight. Always do a backstab. Basically, that's how good guys win. And Snyder knows that you've seen it 100 times, and he knows that you know that he knows. That's why you think, oh, no, he won't repeat this cliché for the 101st time. He'll finish the fight with some unexpected twist. But because you think so, the cliché that happens actually surprises you. That is the level of Snyder's ingenuity.
Proper genius.
The fight is over. The fallen are given to the air. And speaking of air, when was the last time you inhaled a truly fresh one? Are you tired of breathing in air filled with traces of industry and carbon dioxide produced by strangers? Now you can order the purest air, which we will deliver to any place convenient for you. You don't even need to meet anyone. Just specify the place and time, and the fresh air will be delivered directly to your door for just $1 per cubic meter. A fresh air, right at your door. 50% discount for asthmatics. All right, let's gather all the pieces of the puzzle, highlighting scenes with water and grain, celebrating the simple joys of life, putting a ton of allusions and references to iconic stories and characters. Seven Samurai, Star Wars, The Matrix, Inglourious Bastards, Gladiator, Conan the Barbarian, Harry Potter, Knights of the Round Table, Nazis, The Killing of Caesar, Interstellar, Davy Jones, The Last of Us, and many, many others, including Snyder's own works. What's the message behind it all? In short, it says that nothing fundamentally new can be created. Every plot ever invented traces back to absolutely simple origins. Every character, no matter how unique they seem to us, go back to simple primordial archetypes. Life itself finds its roots in the simplest element: water. In Sucker Punch, Snyder mocked the audience, but in Rebel Moon, he takes it a step further. Having matured and gained wisdom, he embraces the audience's love for simplicity, delivering a textbook narrative, a story that begins with symbolic conception, woven with the DNA of many beloved tales, and concludes with death and a little hint of a second coming. All stories are, in fact, variations of oldest one, the story of light and dark. Different people and different eras interpret them differently. They symbolize life and death, reason and instinct, democracy and despotism. Yet, despite the timeless nature of these themes, modern sophisticated public dismisses them as corny or too simple. They forget that, no matter how hard we try to complicate the real state of things by preaching gray morality and talking about incredible complexity of human psychology, a person who throws a child off a tower won't become good just because he spent night with a big knight. And a story won't become superficial just because it ends with a classic showdown between good and evil. Now, don't get me wrong, the world isn't just black and white. But more often than not, the reasons behind human actions are far less convoluted than humans try to convince themselves. 'Cause you see, some things never change. War never changes. The lust for power never changes. The things that bring us true joy do not change. That's why the plot of Rebel Moon feels secondary, and the characters seem superficial. Snyder deliberately makes them so to convey one simple truth: there is nothing new under the moon. And by producing a film like this, he does something truly rebellious.